No one could handle the paralyzed billionaire, until the single dad saw the photo on her desk. The first time anyone entered the billionaire's silent office, they usually walked out within minutes. Some left in frustration, some in fear, and a few with tears in their eyes. She had become known as the coldest woman in the city, trapped in a wheelchair after a tragic accident, surrounded by wealth but completely alone. Every caregiver had resigned, every assistant had given up, and every expert claimed she was impossible to help. But one ordinary single father walked into that room without knowing he was about to uncover a secret hidden in plain sight. A single photograph resting quietly on her desk would change two broken lives forever. Before we continue, if you believe kindness deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel, Kindness Tales Journey. Your support helps us continue sharing stories that remind the world compassion still exists. Morning sunlight poured through the glass walls of one of the tallest office buildings in the city as Elias Carter stepped through the entrance wearing a neatly pressed but inexpensive shirt. At 37 years old, life had taught him that dignity mattered more than expensive clothes. After losing his wife to illness 5 years earlier, every sunrise had begun with preparing breakfast for his 8-year-old daughter, Nora, before searching for work. Jobs came and went, but his determination never faded. He believed that every difficult season eventually led to a better day. That same morning, Victoria Ashcroft watched the city from her wheelchair. Once celebrated as one of the youngest self-made billionaires in the country, she had built an international technology company through relentless determination. Everything changed after a devastating highway accident left her paralyzed from the waist down. The physical pain slowly healed, but the emotional wounds only grew deeper. She isolated herself from friends, ignored business meetings, and pushed away everyone who tried to help. Employees respected her intelligence but feared her silence. She rarely smiled anymore. The company had already hired dozens of professional caregivers and executive assistants. None stayed longer than a week. Some complained she never trusted anyone. Others admitted they simply couldn't bear watching someone so successful lose all hope. Elias accepted the temporary position because the salary would finally allow him to pay overdue school fees for Nora. He expected a difficult employer. He did not expect a woman who seemed completely disconnected from life. Instead of trying to impress Victoria, Elias quietly organized the office, prepared her meeting notes, and made sure everything she needed was within easy reach. He spoke only when necessary and never treated her with pity. That simple respect confused her more than any motivational speech ever could. Late that afternoon, while arranging documents on her desk, Elias noticed a faded photograph in a silver frame. It showed a smiling little girl holding a handmade birthday card beside a younger Victoria. Unlike the expensive artwork decorating the office, the photograph looked worn from years of being touched. Something about the girl's smile reminded Elias of Nora. He carefully returned the picture exactly where it had been, but he couldn't stop wondering why someone surrounded by luxury treasured one ordinary photograph more than anything else. The following days revealed something no employee file had mentioned. Every afternoon, Victoria quietly stared at that picture before asking to end her meetings early. Her eyes filled with sadness she refused to explain. Elias never asked questions. He simply noticed. His quiet understanding slowly replaced the tension that usually filled the office. One bright morning, Nora's school unexpectedly closed because of maintenance. With no babysitter available, Elias reluctantly brought her to work after receiving special permission. He worried Victoria would immediately dismiss him. Instead, something unexpected happened. As Nora politely greeted everyone with a cheerful smile, the entire office atmosphere changed. Staff members laughed more, conversations became lighter, and even security guards smiled as she thanked them for opening doors. When Nora entered Victoria's office carrying a small drawing she had colored while waiting, the billionaire stared at the child in complete silence. The drawing showed a woman in a wheelchair surrounded by flowers under a bright blue sky. Above it were the simple words, "Everyone deserves sunshine." Victoria held the paper with trembling hands. For the first time in years, tears quietly rolled down her face. The memory she had buried could no longer remain hidden. Years before becoming a billionaire, Victoria had volunteered every weekend at a children's rehabilitation center. Among the children was a brave little girl named Lily, who had been fighting a serious illness. They became inseparable. Victoria promised she would always visit. But as her company grew, meetings replaced weekends. Business trips replaced promises. Before she could return, Lily passed away. The photograph on the desk was taken during Lily's final birthday celebration. Victoria never forgave herself. She believed success had cost her the chance to keep the promise that mattered most. Elias listened without interrupting. He understood guilt. He had blamed himself every day after losing his wife, wondering if another doctor, another treatment, or another decision could have changed everything. Eventually he realized grief could either imprison someone forever or become the reason to help others. Those words stayed with Victoria long after he left for the evening. The next morning sunlight filled the office once again, but something had changed. Victoria asked for her calendar. She wanted to visit the rehabilitation center where Lily had once lived. Employees exchanged surprised glances. It had been years since she willingly left the building for anything unrelated to business. The visit transformed more than anyone expected. Children welcomed her without recognizing the famous billionaire. They saw only a woman in a wheelchair who smiled warmly as they showed their paintings, books, and dreams. Victoria realized she still had something priceless to give. Hope. Over the following months, she personally funded new therapy equipment, accessible playgrounds, educational programs, and family support services. Yet instead of simply writing checks, she spent time listening to every child and every parent. The woman once known for her cold silence slowly became known for her kindness. Meanwhile, Elias never asked for recognition. He continued balancing work and fatherhood, making breakfast every morning, helping Nora with homework every evening, and reminding her that true wealth came from caring for people. One afternoon Victoria called the company's leadership team together. Instead of announcing another business expansion, she introduced a new foundation dedicated to supporting children with disabilities and single-parent families. She named it the Lily Hope Foundation. When reporters asked what inspired such a dramatic change, she smiled gently before looking toward Elias standing quietly at the back of the room. She explained that sometimes the greatest miracle wasn't finding someone who could solve every problem. Sometimes it was finding someone who noticed the pain hidden behind a single photograph. The news spread across the country. People praised the billionaire's generosity. Very few knew that the real hero remained the single father who simply chose compassion over judgment. Months later, on another beautiful daytime morning, Victoria visited Elias and Nora at a community park where children of every ability played together on equipment funded by the foundation. Watching dozens of laughing families under the bright blue sky, Victoria realized she no longer measured success by company profits or magazine covers. She measured it by smiles. By second chances. By promises finally kept. Elias looked at his daughter racing across the playground and quietly thanked life for leading him to the interview everyone else had feared. Sometimes the biggest changes begin not with extraordinary talent, but with the willingness to truly see another person's hidden pain. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that one act of kindness can completely change someone's life, please like this video, share it with your friends and family, leave a heartfelt comment, and subscribe to Kindness Tales Journey. Your support encourages us to keep bringing stories of hope, compassion, and second chances. Special request: before this story ends, please comment below with the words, "Kindness changes lives," to spread hope and inspire someone reading the comments today. As the golden morning slowly turned into a peaceful afternoon, Victoria looked once more at the old photograph on her desk. It was no longer a reminder of failure. It had become a reminder that even the deepest regrets can become the beginning of someone else's hope. And somewhere beyond wealth, beyond success, and beyond heartbreak, 3 lives, a lonely billionaire, a devoted single father, and a little girl with an endless heart, prove that compassion is the greatest fortune anyone will ever possess.